what's the nut width of your guitar?
Let me see. It is 1 13/16. That's right. The nut width right here, right? Yeah. 1 13/16, I believe, which is slightly wider than a normal 6-string Martin that you might pick up.
Huh. Well, somebody was asking. I was in the chat.
Yes, this is the Martin Pat Donohue model, believe it or not. And one of the things that I wanted was a slightly wider neck like that, so that my fat fingers can get around.
Nice.
It is. I love it.
That's awesome. All right. All right, I'm gonna let these next two people in, and then let's get started. Hello and welcome, everyone, wherever you are. Hope that you are well. Can everyone hear? Excellent, and you're seeing us. All right, we're good. So glad to see you this week. It's good to see your faces and your guitars and all of that good stuff. Just remember to keep yourself muted. Pat may ask some questions. Feel free to answer him by unmuting yourself and then mute yourself again. But if you forget, I'll go hit that mute button. So we are so glad to be able to bring Manuka to you. This is kind of one of those fascinating things. How do you bring a place to people? I don't know, but we're trying. So the thing that we do is get people together, and here we are. So Pat, thank you again for sharing your time and your talents and helping to encourage us to find ours. Let's get started.
Well, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate being a part of this. And for all of your signing up in the beginning, I just can't thank you enough. Thank you. So I'll try and do that by showing you some licks here. And I'm going to lower my camera so instead of looking at my face, that you can see what I'm doing with my hands. And I'm going to step back a little bit. But today I wanted to talk about the licks of two of my other favorite legendary guitar players, one being Robert Johnson, the king of the Delta blues, and the other being Blind Blake, who is not often called this, but he's, I think, the king of the Piedmont style blues, which was a type of blues that was going on at the same time of the 1900s, but over on the eastern seaboard, and it's a little bit more melodic and so forth. So I thought there'd be a nice contrast between these two artists. I'll start off with some Robert Johnson licks. And again, this is not to teach you a song or repertoire or anything like that. It's to show you some of the key licks that he used so that, we might be able to use them in other songs. And I'm going to try and demonstrate a little bit about that today too, how these licks can be transferred to other songs and other music and stuff. So let's see, I just wanted to reiterate the way terminology that I use. Just a second. And that is, as far as the strings go, this is the first string, the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Or 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the fingers of the left hand are the index, middle, ring, and pinky, and of course the thumb. So if I would to say, put your middle finger on the third string, third fret, well, take the middle finger, that's this one, put it on the third string, 1, 2, 3, third string, and 1, 2, 3, third fret. There it is. And so if you do that a few times, and you have to kind of go through a process of thinking about, well, which finger is that? And, but anyway, that's how I refer to these things. So it makes it a little bit easier if you refer to them in the same way. Let's see. Other than that, I just wanted to thank Manuka another time for doing this. It's a great way to keep me off the streets for an hour. And not that there's anything to do out there. But I understand there's a bit of a lag in what I'm saying and the visual that you're getting. And I'll try and allow for that and go through things very slowly, but probably not a whole number of times, because I realize that you can go back and watch this again and again. So if I go through something slowly once or twice, you should be able to get it by going back to it if I didn't get it then. And having said all that, I want to go like this. She's a kind-hearted woman, most anything in this world for me. Yeah, she's a kind-hearted woman. Do most anything in this world for me. But these evil-hearted women, well, they will not let me be. That was a verse of the Kind-Hearted Woman Blues, which has a lot of great Robert Johnson tricks in it. He played in all the regular guitar keys, but he did favor the key of A and E quite a bit, a lot like Lightning Hopkins from last week. But this was in the key of A. And so I'd like to just kind of show you some of the various highlights of that type of tune with the Robert Johnson styling. And so if everybody's in tune, your fifth string open should be an A note. And your right hand thumb, the picking thumb, is kind of going to rest on that because the way Robert Johnson played, a lot of times he used a thumping bass kind of a sound. Where what I mean by that is the right hand is going just on the fifth string. And a lot of these licks are happening with the other fingers. But that drone there on the A is what's going to be happening during the A chord of this A blues. Having said that, I'll just get started with the little intro lick. And Robert Johnson used this as an intro in several different songs, one of them being Kind-Hearted Woman. And they're not quite exactly the same each time, but the same material is used. And that's really kind of what I wanted to show you here. We did a little bit of this last week with Lightning Hopkins, as you recall, we were in the key of A. There's a little D7 shape, if you'll know a regular D7 chord. If you take that little shape up to the 9th and 8th frets, 9, 8, 9, on the first three strings, and you play the open A bass with it, try and avoid the 4th string because that's really not in on the action here, but the 5th and the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings, or any choice thereof, that makes an A7 chord. And this is when Robert Johnson starts a song with this is the little shape that's being used. It's an A7 chord, but it's shaped like a D7, but it's up here at the 8th and 9th frets along with an open A bass. So the rest of that little lick involves taking those three notes and then taking them down a fret. Now we're at the 8th, 7th, and 8th. Taking them down another fret to the 6th and 7th, and ending up here on this A major chord, which is a different shape. This shape goes 3rd string, 6th fret with the middle finger, and then the index finger bars over the first two strings at the 5th fret. It's like the top part of the F chord. You play F like this, these three notes here. Anyway, it's up at the 5th and 6th frets. That's A major. So we went from A7 up here, where the lick started, down a fret, and ending up on this shape of A major. And within that little bit of lickage there, I've used that for so many different things. That's just the intro that I think Robert Johnson does on this song goes something like this. And he goes into the next thing I want to show you. But this little bit of it, I'm playing the A shape here at the 6th and 5th frets, and then I'm taking that little D7 shape going from 6 and 7, 7 and 8, 8 and 9, where it's now A7 again. So between A and A7th, there's this. Well, they'll stone you when you're riding in your car. Yeah, they'll stone you when you're kind of chord movement there that you hear a lot. So if I were playing a totally different song in the key of A, like say You Are My Sunshine, I don't know. With the melody being on the first string, I kind of took this A7. My only sunshine. That's where I have a chord now, a version of. And so on and so forth. We have to go to a different chord at that point, D. But that's just, it's a great little turnaround also. And it's all located in here, 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 and here. But how you manipulate those little chord fragments is kind of up to you. And that's where the fun starts, really, is once you get these in your hands. Okay, so once more for the tape, and that move is A7 on the 8th and 9th frets, down 1 fret, down another fret, and ending up on A major, 6th fret, 5th fret, 5th fret, all over an A 5th string open bass. Okay. It's a Robert Johnson turnaround for sure, but it has musical information in it that you can plug into other songs in the key of A. And when you're on the lookout for that kind of stuff, I think your playing can grow from it. And that's the sense of learning licks, you know, from Robert Johnson and Blind Blake and all those people, in my opinion. So I'll continue now and just take that intro a bit further with this part here. This is sometimes referred to as the Robert Johnson turnaround. He did this a lot. And it's, again, we're in the key of A. Happens at the end of a verse and before you go to the beginning of another verse. It also happens right at the end of this intro. And you'll start here. It's really a nice little turnaround. So I'll show you what that is up close now. The basis of operations for my A chord now will be this. I'm trying to get it in focus for you. This A, that this is a bar at the 2nd fret over the first 4 strings. And the pinky then goes up to the 5th fret of the 1st string and gets the high A. And some people call this the long A. Anyway, that's the A, the visual reference that I'm using for this little turnaround. Although the actual notes are very simple. They're 2 at a time. And the first note is your pinky on the 1st string, 5th fret. And the other note is your ring finger on the 4th string, 5th fret. So those are the first 2 notes. This is both at the 5th fret, and it's the 4th string with the ring finger, the 1st string with the pinky. So from that, a chromatic movement, which means 1 fret at a time, a descending chromatic movement, which is going in a downward direction. That lower of the 2 notes, the one on the 4th string, is going to move down 1 fret while the one on the pinky stays where it is. We're going to repeat that process now with the left hand go to the 4th string, 3rd fret, while leaving the pinky at the 5th fret of the 1st string. And we're going to go 1 more fret to the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and that gives us the outline of this A chord I was talking about before. So I'm going to, again, play it in context, then I'll show you how to do it one more time. Usually it's followed by an E7 chord after afterwards. Get ready to go back to A for the next verse. But these two notes again are the first string with the pinky at the 5th fret and the 4th string with the ring finger at the 5th fret. And the ring finger, the 4th string note, moves down 1 fret at a time. You pinch them together so they're both sounding at the same time. Pinch, thumb on the 4th string, middle finger on the 1st string with that right hand, that is. Right here. Okay. Anyway, it's the 1st and the 4th string, whether I can make it visual or not. And then you move the lower of the 2 notes down 1 fret to the 4th fret of the 4th string while the pinky stays on the 1st string 5th fret. And you do that again to go to the 3rd fret of the 4th string. And finally, with your left hand index finger, you get down to the 2nd fret of the 4th string. That's kind of the meat of it there, that little pinch, 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 pinch. But there's all kinds of ways to decorate this. And one of the ones, the way Robert Johnson did it a lot of times, was to play it like this. Now the left hand move is identical. I didn't change anything. But with the right hand, that is, you pinch the first 2 notes like normally. Then you play one with your right hand on just the treble note, the 1st string that is. So that you do this, pinch, duh. Don't pinch them both, just pinch, and then repeat the treble note. And you do that on each of these. Pinch, repeat the treble note, pinch, repeat the treble note, and finally pinch. And that sounds like this. Pinch, duh, pinch, pinch, duh. As opposed to just adding an extra treble note. And you can play triplets in the same manner, and that's very bluesy. This time it's pinch, da, da, pinch, da, da, pinch, da, da, pinch, da, da. Okay. D7. And the song starts, oh, she's a kind-hearted woman. Let's do anything in this world for me. I'll show you this. It's very Robert Johnson sounding. What's going on there is the A chord that he's playing there, even though most of us might play it down here, something like that. If you listen to the recording, I highly suggest you do, by the way, listen to some Robert Johnson and Blind Blake. The F shape down here, again with the F shape, if you play just the 3 notes and leave the open 1st string, now you have an F major 7th, but that's irrelevant because I want to take that F shape and move it up again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets to now it's at the 7th, 6th, and 5th frets, 7, 6, 5, and the open the open E string, open 1st string. So the 1st string is actually doubled. You got the open 1st string, E, and then your index finger is also now on the 2nd string, 5th fret, which is the same note. But that gives you this sound. And Robert Johnson used that 2 strings of the same pitch there on the 1st string open, the 2nd string 5th fret as a part of this A chord shape. So that's the A shape that Mr. Johnson, Professor Johnson is working with. And when he plays this, a lot of his blues in A goes something like this. This sound here. Okay, and what that is, taking that A shape that we talked about just a moment ago and especially the middle finger and the first finger. They're on the 3rd string 6th fret and the 2nd string 5th fret. If you move those down 1 fret, now they're at the 5th and the 4th frets. You still have the open E string. So when I take these 2 fingers from the shape that we started with and take them each down 1 fret, I'm not worried about the 4th string anymore. I'm just worried about the 3rd and the 2nd and the 1st. Now we have the 3rd string at the 5th fret and the 2nd string at the 4th fret. And you have the open E string also. And to that, I'm going to add your ring finger can get up here at the 5th fret of the 1st string. So you have that sort of little D7-ish shape again now, just momentarily, because what Robert Johnson does, he takes it on and off. I'm just kind of playing the first 2 strings, first with my ring finger on that shape. Then I'm taking that finger off and playing the same 2 strings. And then taking the whole hand position up. So it's 5th and 6th fret, 4th and 5th fret, ring finger at the 5th fret of the 1st string, and open, and back to the original. And all that's happening is these 2 fingers are going down 1 fret. But the right hand is playing some kind of combination of these 2 strings plus the 1st string open. You theory buffs, it's going from A major to A diminished and back to A major. But he's just really implying those chords. I doubt even Robert Johnson knew that that's what he was doing, but could be.
Pat, somebody
All right.
is that
Yes.
intro also a turnaround for use elsewhere?
Yes, it is. Say at the end of this song even. Sorry. If you played You Are My Sunshine, don't take my sunshine away. Same little shapes. So yes, it's a turnaround as well as other things. But let's see. There's another thing I wanted to get to with Robert Johnson, and I just want to reiterate on this particular A chord we were looking at. The right hand thumb is hitting the 5th string open, and I use my index and middle finger to strike either the 1st and 2nd string or the 2nd and 3rd string. And I'm not even aware which one, but all that happens is this goes down a fret, and this finger helps out momentarily right here. Off, and then back again. All right, so she's a kind-hearted woman. Down a fret, will do most anything in this world for me. Up again, and down again, and back again. Again, for the record. All right, from there it goes to the 4 chord, and that means that's a fancy way of saying to D7. I got a kind-hearted woman who knows anything in this world for me. Okay, at this point, I got a kind-hearted woman, and I want to show you this way of playing a D7 chord. Of course, we all learned it like this. But if you take this top note, the F sharp there, and put it down on the 6th string, 2nd fret, that's still an F sharp, just 2 octaves lower. So now you have a D7 played with this as the bass note. And that's what Robert Johnson did when he played the D7 chord in an instance like this. So I'll give you those fret numbers for D7. It's the 6th string, middle finger, 2nd fret. You can skip the 5th string, and you can skip the 4th string left-hand wise and put the ring finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. So you got 2 notes so far. They're both at the 2nd fret, the 6th string with the middle finger and the 3rd string with the ring finger. One more note. The index finger will now play the 2nd string, 1st fret. Now you have a D7 in the 1st inversion, which means the 3rd of the chord, not the root, is in the bass. And that's what the magic Robert Johnson D7 chord is there. So again, that's the 6th string, 2nd fret, middle finger, 3rd string, 2nd fret, ring finger, 2nd string, 1st fret, index finger. The 4th string open is fair game. And if you play the 1st string without a finger on it, that becomes a D9th, which is just a kind of a fancy D7. So you can kind of use that at your discretion. So this is the D7 I'm going to play now. I got a kind-hearted woman, do most anything in this world for me. Here comes the D7. I got a kind-hearted woman, do most anything in this world for me. I went back to A. So while I'm playing that D7, my right hand thumb is hitting the 6th string. The same way it was hitting the 5th string before when we were on the A chord. And my right hand index and middle fingers are hitting the 3rd and 2nd string mostly. Sometimes we'll stray to the 1st string or the 4th string, but mostly it's these 3 notes: 6th string, 3rd string, 2nd string. Here's another real great little Robert Johnsonism. And when you go to that chord, dun, dun, here comes the D7. I led into that bass note that's on the 6th string, 2nd fret by going 6th string open, 1st fret, and then to the 2nd fret, which is the destination. It's part of this D7 chord. So you have same thing we did it a minute ago. Here's E7th, the 5 chord, to the D7 we just played. And here comes the turnaround again. Or in context, from the E7 chord to our new D7 chord, to the turnaround that we learned at the beginning here on the 4th and the 1st strings at the 5th fret. Ending up on the long A, for lack of a better term, and then to an E7 afterwards. Which, by the way, I'm playing just a regular old E chord, but adding the pinky at the 2nd string, 3rd fret. That makes it an E7 chord. It's a little bit more tangy and colorful than a regular old E. All right, so I want to get to talking a little bit about Blind Blake too, but I'll just go through these moves. Kind-hearted woman, do most anything in this world. Here's the first one. Here's the new D. I got a kind-hearted woman, do most anything in this world for me. Back to the original A form. Down a fret. E is in Edward 7th. The new D7th. And here comes the turnaround on A. not forgetting about how we started this whole thing off with the little A7 at the 8th and 9th frets. It looks like a D7 shape, but it's up here. Give it a little wiggle. Ooh. So I'd like to open it up for a few minutes if anybody's got some burning questions, Lori, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Y'all can unmute yourselves and got any questions?
We're going to tilt the camera back up.
I have
Pat,
one.
it's Jerry. Sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
for it.
I'd like to play along with you once on that.
You want to try and do that, everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Let's try and do it. I'll just start from where the singing starts, and that's with this A shape at the 5th, 6th, and 7th frets here. I got a kind-hearted woman. 4 beats here. 4 beats here. Do most anything in this world. Back to the first one for me. 2 beats. 2 beats. 2 beats back. Now we're going to the D7th. I got a kind-hearted woman. Do most anything in this world for me. Back to the A. Down a fret. Now going to E7th, but these evil-hearted women to our new D7th. Man, they will not let me be. Turn around. E7. Someday, someday, I will shake your hand goodbye. There's this again. You can make it be wherever you want it to be. Of course, it sounds better in some places than others, but you can almost always make that make sense somehow.
Pat, does Robert Johnson ever play D's shaped up at around the 5th fret, or has he stayed down lower more?
Often he would play this kind of a D in the key of A, would be like here. And this is kind of applying a D7 with my pinky, but let me show you this D up close. It's on the first 4 strings, and it's using the open 4th string D as the bass note. The other 3 notes rather are the D major triad played at the 3rd string 5th fret, middle finger. 7th fret, my bad. 3rd string 7th fret, middle finger. 2nd string 7th fret, middle finger. And 1st string 5th fret, index finger. So middle ring and index is how I'm fingering. So when you play that with an open D note, you have a nice little D major there. And so what Robert Johnson would often do is just take the first 2 notes of it, the 2nd string at the 7th fret and the 1st string at the 5th fret, and the open 4th string, and play something like this. And that's adding the pinky occasionally at the 1st string 8th fret, making it a D7, kind of off of that shape, you know that. But it's just a fragment of that. You don't have to play the whole D chord there, just these 2 notes. Hammering, pulling, whatever. Yeah, kind-hearted woman. It's just really these 2 notes, 2nd string 7th, 1st string 5th, and then occasionally the pinky up at the 8th fret of the 1st string, along with an open D. I went back to the A at the 5th fret afterwards. So yes, there is a D up there at the 5th fret. I hope that was the one you were looking for.
Anyone else have a question?
Yeah, it's Jerry here. Just one. What about his famous solo in there? That's kind of at the same place as that intro turnaround.
It's a great solo, I will say that. And I don't know if I could repeat it note for note, but I can play you a time through what I think is his solo using
Yeah.
most of these things that I just showed you.
Sure.
That has, to some degree, most of the stuff that I talked about in it. And again, that's not a note for note rendition of Robert Johnson's solo, but it's close to it. And by the way, while I was listening, I noticed if you are of the mind to go and play with the Robert Johnson recordings, he did 2 recordings of Kind-Hearted Woman Blues. And he was playing these positions and these licks and stuff. But on one of them, he's capoed at the 2nd fret, making it in the key of B. And the other one, he's capoed at the 1st fret, making it the key of B flat. But either way, you put the capo on at the right fret and you just play in the key of A. And that's what he was doing, just to save you any consternation that might cause. All right, well, I'd like to talk about Blind Blake, another one of my absolute favorite blues guitar players. And his name was Arthur Blake. He was blind since birth, as far as I know. Not too many people know too much about him. But he came from the Eastern Seaboard, somewhere around Jacksonville, Florida. Some people say Newport News. And I'm not sure about that. He was a street musician, and he went to Chicago in the 20s and did a whole bunch of recordings, both under his own name and with other blues stars on Paramount Records, which is great because then we can go back and listen to these things. Because then when the Depression hit, Paramount went under and he slid into an obscurity that nobody knows really what happened to him. However, he played in such a style that it was really magnetic to me. It is to this day, the way his licks work in his right hand and stuff. By the way, I would credit one of my life's achievements to the fact that when I first started playing on a Prairie Home Companion, Chet Atkins was a frequent guest, so we got to be pals a little bit. And he had never actually heard Blind Blake, and these 2 giants of American fingerpicking guitar. Chet Atkins had never heard Blind Blake, so I got him I got Chet a Blind Blake CD, and he just really loved it. He thought it was just great. So I consider that my contribution to Western culture, I guess. Hold on one second. Okay, enough name dropping. But I did want to talk about Blind Blake a little bit and a couple of things about his style. He played a lot in the key of C. Not totally, and certainly a lot of instances where he did not, but he favored the key of C, I'd say, a lot. And a lot of the Piedmont, what you might call ragtime blues guitar players, Blind Boy Fuller, for instance, Blind Blake, Brownie McGee, and Reverend Gary Davis, played a kind of a melodic style of blues, which was peculiar to the key of C. So there's licks in the key of C that I'd like to show you that are arguably Blind Blake licks, and yet they're very transferable to other things because we all play in the key of C a lot, I think. And so I just want to kind of run you through a few of those. One great tune that you might recall, if you've ever heard Blind Blake, might be Diddy Wah Diddy. There's a great big mystery, and it sure is in me. It's Diddy Wah Diddy. Diddy Wah Diddy. Won't somebody tell me what Diddy Wah Diddy means? That's pretty much a caricature of how Blind Blake played. I sure can't do it, but I've been trying most of my life. But there's a couple of licks, and I can't really get into. First, you put your thumb there, and with the right hand of Blind Blake, it'd be another few lessons before we even broke the surface. But I will say about the right hand of Blind Blake, this one thing, and I'm going to play a C chord with the left hand, and I'm going to try and get my right hand in the action. If you're able to do this already, which is And all I'm doing is playing my thumb going from the 5th to the 4th string. And on the first of those two notes, I'm pinching with the 2nd and 3rd string. So it's pinch, then thumb on the 4th, pinch on the 5th, thumb on the 4th. And I'll assume that you can do that, because with the Blind Blake thing that he did a lot was this double thumb sort of thing. Whereas this first note is preceded by this. And what my right hand thumb is doing, by the way, the left hand is playing a C that also has the 6th string 3rd fret. But when you do that, then the right hand can go and hit the 6th string, then the 5th string, which is the target. So it's like a grace note. And when you pinch that, it's boom, boom. Or that's thump, thump, index and middle, then thumb on the 4th. So when you hear Blind Blake, you hear that right hand thing a lot that I just did there, which is and that's really what's going on. The right hand thumb is dragging across the previous string to get to the root on the beat. So it's of course you try that doing on other chords too. F. I'm just playing the 6th and the 5th string there, my right hand thumb. Back to C. G, 7. That's 6th and 5th. And that produces this sound. Early one morning, my baby made this song. And basically that's just the right hand thumb on each of the 3 chords, C, F, and G, raking across the 6th and then the 5th string. And this is a big Blind Blakeism. And I think he was trying to imitate piano players. He was a very pianistic type of guitar player, I think. And that's when the barrelhouse piano players play, they play these tenths with the left hand. And I think that it also sounds a lot like what a day for a daydream. What a day for a daydream. But John Sebastian was a folkie and was influenced by Blind Blake and that whole kind of dragging thumb technique. That's just as an aside there. So having told you that about Blind Blake's right hand, I want to show you some licks in C that I think are very useful. And I'll start off as simply as I can and then just build on them a little bit at a time. So I'm in the key of C. And I'd like you to listen to this world of licks here. These are all ragtimey sort of licks in the key of C, and they sound like this. Oh, I'm playing in the key of C. Yes, I'm playing in the key of C. I'm playing in the key of C. That sounds, hopefully it sounds very impressive. And it's just that the end of each of these licks is the same. So I'll show you the first one, and then the end is going to be the same through about 3 or 4 of them. And we're just going to play different first 2 notes. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's what I want to do. Here's the lick, starting off. That's 9 notes. That's quite a bit. So we'll just take it in 2 different chunks. Here's the first 2 notes. First string, 5th fret, ring finger. First string, 3rd fret, index finger. And here, this is very important. Second string, 4th fret, middle finger. Followed by first string, open. Here's what we've got so far. First string, 5th fret, 3rd fret, second string, 4th fret, first string, open. And that little business here, the second string, 4th fret, followed by the first string, open, is really at the heart of a lot of these ragtime licks in the key of C. That little thing right there. So the first lick we've got so far is 5th, 3rd, 4th, open, and then I'll finish the lick for you, which goes to the second string, 1st fret, which is just like a C chord would do that. So it's the second string, 1st fret, followed by the 3rd string, 2nd fret, then the 3rd string, open, and you follow the rest of the C chord down to the 4th string, 2nd fret, and 5th string, 3rd fret. So that second half of the lick is this. That is, again, it kind of follows the shape of C with an extra note, but you play the second string, 1st fret, 3rd string, 2nd fret, then the 3rd string, open, then the 4th string, 2nd fret, and the 5th string, 3rd fret. And those last 2 notes are just where your fingers would fall on a C chord anyway. La, da, 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 da. So I'm going to go back to the first half now, and we'll put these together. First string, 5th fret, 3rd fret, second string, 4th fret, first string, open, second string, 1st fret, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 3rd string, open, 4th string, 2nd fret, 5th string, 3rd fret. Now I'm just going to play it really slowly. With the right hand, the picking hand, there are a few different options. I often play with the index and middle fingers on those strings so that I have the thumb left over to play bass notes. But I'm playing the first note, for instance, with my middle finger of the right hand, both of the first 2 notes. But then on the second string, I'll play the index finger, followed by the middle finger on the first string, open. So it's nice if they ring together, isn't it? It's that real dissonant tang. Call it a minor second interval. It really wants to go someplace from there. Anyway. Now, admittedly, this is a handful at first, but there are many variations that once you get the second half down real well, then you just learn different new first halves. For instance, we just went from the 5th to the 3rd string, first string, 5th to the 3rd fret as the first 2 notes. And then, what if we did a different first 2 notes? How about this first 2 notes? Really, the second one is the same, but now I'm going from the first string, 6th fret to the first string, 3rd fret. And the rest falls naturally. So I've got this. I just just change the first two notes, and only by one. Just a little another right hand thing. At the end of that lick, I'm playing that last note with the thumb, the right hand, because that has a nice authority to it, as opposed to trying to pick it with the index finger. It sounds kind of weaker. Okay, so we've got two licks now, really the same lick with two different beginnings. This one here. And this one, which has these two notes as the first two notes, sixth to the fifth, sixth to the third fret. So if I were playing right there, you have to fit it into the right number of beats, of course, but on top of Old Smoky, all covered with snow. One time I played this lick in front of Doc Watson at a rehearsal, and he went, "Son!" So I must have done something right, I figure. Son! Okay, there's one more of this that I'd like to show you, and it's very similar, but this one, the first four notes are what are going to be different about this. It's still in the key of C, but now you're going to get way up in the stratosphere of the neck on the 8th fret. And I'm playing that with the left hand pinky, but first string 8th fret, then to the 5th fret. Third note is to the second string 8th fret with the pinky, followed by, very important, first string open. So the first four notes are eighth fret, 5th fret, second string 8th fret, and now first string open. Again, the trick of it is between the second string 8th fret and the first string open. Because that open E string gives your left hand time to get down here for the second half of the lick, which you already know. That's a C chord with a added note. So with just four new notes, we've got this lick. I use this a lot. I overuse it, to be honest with you, but it's so easy to play once you kind of get the bounce to it. And what I'm doing there, I don't necessarily recommend you do this, but I don't recommend that you don't, is with the right hand, I'm hitting a kind of a down up, with the thumb being the downstroke, the index finger being the upstroke. So it ends up that the downbeats are the strong beats. On a back and forth sort of thing. So if I'm Blind Blake and I'm playing a song like this, yes, if I'm Blind Blake, I'll play a song with the second lick down. Now here's comes the third lick that we just did right here. And I think in my mind, the real magic happens with the use of the open first string for your E note. You could play it at the fifth string, second string, fifth fret, an E note, but it doesn't have the ringing of the open first string of the E note. Plus, that ringing gives your left hand time, so to speak, to get down to that C shape at the first fret where the rest of the lick happens. So it's seamless. While this is notice happening, your left hand is getting down here. So you can do it really as fast as you want. It's just a very small movement. So those are very, very generically some Blind Blake licks for you. I again couldn't encourage you more. He did some great stuff. Even in open tunings, he played a song called Police Dog Blues that maybe some of you are aware of. He did that in the open D tuning. And I didn't want to get into open tunings today with so many people having to retune the guitars in the short amount of time that we have. But the same with Robert Johnson. A lot of his great slide guitar work was done in open G and open D tuning, which we won't have a chance to get into today. But anyway, next week, possibly. I would like to, if there are any questions before the time is up, I'd like to try and address them. Are the lines open, Lori?
Indeed they are. If y'all want to unmute yourselves.
Yeah, but hey, Pat, just a quick question.
Yep.
Not about this lesson, but will we be covering Big Bill Brunzi at some point?
You know, I was debating on him for next week, and if you're interested, I'd love to take on Big Bill Brunzi, and some of his repertoire of licks are common to Blind Blake, but with a decided difference in my opinion. So yeah, if you're interested, I think Brunzi was one of the names that I had chosen in the description of the class. And yes, I'll just make sure that I do Big Bill Brunzi to some extent next week.
Oh, thank you.
I have a quick question. It looks like you're not using finger picks.
I'm not today. I use finger picks about half the time when I play. A thumb pick and an index in the middle. In fact, I'll show them to you. I use these clear plastic ones that are made by Dunlop. There's a thumb pick, and this way you can hardly tell if I'm using them because you can't really see them very well. But they give you a lot more of a tack. But sometimes you sacrifice tone. So it looks like we're over. I'll see you guys next week.
That's all right, Pat. Thank you very much. If y'all have any other questions, send them to Pat through his website, and we'll see you same time, same back channel next week.
That sounds great. Thanks, everybody. I hope you can still hear me.
Thanks,
We
Pat.
can.
Thanks,
Thank
Lori.
you.
You're so welcome. Y'all take care.
Thanks, Pat.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
You're so
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thanks for being here.